Detroit is a historical place.
We need you here.
And any African American should know that Detroit is a central geographic location, just like our ancestors knew from inner Africa, Kush, that they had to migrate and move towards Kemet because of its geographic importance, astronomical importance. I also realize that although I'm a New Yorker, I realize the geographic location of Detroit has a lot of significance. Because when so many great things come out of a geographic location, you have to understand something happening on that soil.
Some of the most.
You see, and so you got to understand this. And as an African, wherever Africans are, Africa is, and wherever Africa is, I am home.
Amen.
So I geographically I'm in New York, but when I come here, I'm home. So that's how I feel. And last night, for those of you, by the way, who was here last night? Okay, well, I'm going to have to do this whole...
Well, you mean at True Oracle's ministry last night?
Yeah, that was at True Oracle ministry last night that we were together. Okay, so there's quite a few of us that were not there. But for those of you who were there, you know it was going on last night. Okay, I mean, it was a powerful thing. And what I often tell people, which is very important for me, because I feel much of what I do. If you remember Muhammad Ali used to... before he would engage in one of his battles or one of his fights, he would turn and he would put his hands out and he would pray. I assume he was offering a Muslim prayer. But every time I come to speak before our people, I also say an invocation. But I don't make it obvious. But prior to my speaking, I also did the very same thing. Because I value your time immensely. The greatest thing we have is time. And where you spend your time is very important. It says a lot. And you have chosen to spend this time today here, Saturday. And I value that. And I respect that, because you could have been doing many other things. But you chose to be here. And I respect the fact that you chose to be with us in this fellowship. And so time is extremely important to me. And the time that you spend. So thank you for coming and to be willing to share this time. And I feel that we're going to have a great time. But I often tell people, I know every time I do a presentation, I know where I'm going. I just don't know how I'm going to get there.
Okay.
And by that I mean it's the vibe that I get from you, the community, that drives this experience.
It is okay.
And last night the African Holy Ghost was in that room last night.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I mean, and I could feel it. I almost went ministerial last night.
Okay.
So I was just holding back to Sunday because it was Friday. You okay? And for some folk, that's the Sabbath, so I was dealing with it. And today we might just go that way also. Because whenever black folk get together, we in church anyway. Because the temple's, there we go. We're there. So I am just very happy to be here, and I mean with you to spend this time. Yes, no doubt. And I want you to know that I bring greetings from your brothers and sisters from New York City, Bronx, New York, to let you know that we together are going to move through this process.
Yes.
And that we are going through very much the same thing that you're going through. Last week I was in Wichita, Kansas. Okay, the land of Oz. And I realized even when I was there that they are experiencing very much the same thing. But one of the things that I've experienced is in my travels, I've always attempted to express to the community that I'm speaking to that there are great things happening amongst us all over the world. In the United States in particular. So don't lose hope. Not that you are. But I'm saying to you that when I was in San Diego, there is a place called the World Beat. I call it Temple, but she calls it Center. There's a sister by the name of Makeda. And she has a place that is circular. and that on the outside are drawings of all of the African experiences, from pictures of Akhenaten to the temples. But then and when I went there, I had to walk around because I just had to experience this world-beat temple. It doesn't make a difference, but I would like to tell you that when I went inside, I went around a circle again, and inside that there's a circular motion. Up on the walls there are pictures of the Dogon and the Kanaga masks and the Sirius star systems. As you go around, there are Ankhs. There are phenomenal pieces of artwork drawn on the walls of this. I call it temple. I told them I'm not going to call this a center no more, because when the spirit is in a room, that's not a center, that's a temple. And so I explained to her, to the sister, inside there is a place where you can have a concert. There is a place where she has a vegetarian cafe. There is a place there that you can have a presentation such as this with a stage or a play. And it's a rather large building. I don't really need to say this, but I only say this so that you can understand something. The person that did all these drawings, they say is autistic.
Oh, that's good.
Yet what I saw on those walls was such a phenomenal amount of intelligence, intellect, genius, that I have worked with children who are, they say, autistic. See, I have a problem with the word disability.
That's right.
I believe it's the society that's disabled. Because they have the disability to be able to find the particular gift in a particular person. Because the way in which they choose to measure the intellect of a human being is based on a standardized test, which does not in any way reflect the intelligence of that particular individual. But because they need to make money, they have to put it in the form of a standardized test, because it's easier for them to be able to tell you if you're intelligent or if you're not. But in no way does it measure. And I just want to say this to you, so that I can tell you a story that you can understand. I'm not going to tell the brother's name, but I had a young brother when I was teaching middle school, probably about 12 to 15 years ago. Now this brother, okay, he had what our society would call challenges. None of the teachers cared for this young man too much. In fact, they didn't care for him at all. And I used to say to the brother, you know exactly what you're doing. And you are an extremely intelligent young brother. And I said, one day, you're going to find your genius. You're going to find that area as to why you were put on this planet. And the last 7 years of my career, they attempted to punish me for the way in which I conducted myself for the 20-something odd years that I was constantly harping at white supremacy in the educational system in New York. So they made it so that I taught something different every year.
Wow.
My background is social studies.
Yeah.
I was a math teacher, I was a science teacher. I ended my career as an art teacher. That was my last year, I was an art teacher. I used to bring my music, see, and because I had to travel throughout the school, because I just filled in for the teachers that were, it's called a cluster teacher, where you just, when the teacher takes a break, you come in to teach, because most children think that's a babysitter. So they sometimes don't really look at you as you're legitimate. And I used to have a cart, and I used to, on my cart, I had my DVD player. And so when I was teaching art, I used to play Thelonious Monk. Or I'd play Beethoven. Or I would have the children from many different parts of the world. I would say, I want you to go home and I want you to ask your grandparents the kind of music they listened to when they were growing up. And I said, I want you to bring it in. And from Nigeria, I had students from Yoruba land that would bring Nigerian music. I had High Life from Ghana, okay, and I had some Fela We used to play Fela. We had to be careful with Fela. Because I had an album called, Fela. I was playing Fela back in the 70s. He had an album called Expensive Shit. He had another song Trouble Come Yonder Wake 'em, you know. And so I was aware of Fela Ransom Kuti years ago, and we used to bring some Fela in to play Fela before the play. And I used to say, this is Nigeria's James Brown.
Okay.
Okay, when that brother would get on them horns and start playing, that was... And the children, I mean, they was just getting, and they were so busy getting into it, and it was just so very powerful. But the point that I'm trying to make is that all of my books and everything was on this cart, and I'd have to wheel this cart through the, I was like a bag person, you know, but that was okay. You see, because that's how it all works out, you know, because punishment is all in the mind. If something bothers you, then it's the punishment. But if you love being with children and they're making you do this, for me, it was my reward. This is how I decided I was going to end my career after 31 years. You see? So, this brother would be kicked out of class. And he'd look for me in the hallway. And he said, Brother Booker T, because at the time I hadn't corrected my name, can I roll with you? I said, come on, man. And he'd come with me to my classes, right? And he would set up all of my equipment. He'd put the music in. He'd hand out things, and he'd sit down. He was just always that type of person. Last week, I was getting my car repaired because I wanted, when I leave the car, I want to make sure that if one of my family members, my daughter or somebody's going to drive, I want it in place. And I knew I had a little trouble with my back wheel, so I had it repaired. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to the foreman on the floor. And all of a sudden, I hear, yo, Hotep, Brother Kaba. And I look over and I see somebody give me a fist. I say, hey, what's going on, Hotep? Because anybody say Hotep, I know you must know me. And so I go back inside and whatnot. Then when I come out, my car is repaired. This young brother, who I knew as a young boy, is the one that was repairing my car. And he and I started talking. I said, yo, man, if we had just known, years ago, this is how I was going to end up. I told you I was going to see you again. And then he went away for a minute to do something. And the foreman told me that he is the finest auto mechanic he has ever met in his life, bar none. Age make no difference.
Wow. Yes.
That was his genius.
Yes.
And I looked at him and I said, hey, man, they're saying good things about you here. He said, you don't have to tell me. You told me I was going to find my genius.
Wow.
And he said, I love this. He said, I was a knucklehead back then. No? I said, no, you weren't a knucklehead. You were just a work of art in progress.
Well said.
You were a pre-existing order and arrangement. And the reason why I say this to you is because there are countless brothers and sisters in our community and amongst us, and even some may be in this room, that are still processes of becoming. And as I was listening to Brother Imhotep's presentation, talking about all the things that they would like us to think about ourselves, it's just nonsense what they say about us.
It really is.
And even if those places where it may be true, I still love them. Even if they're there, I still love them. I still respect them because I realize what has happened to us as a people. I bless you for even being in existence. For what we have gone through as a people, you would think that we would either be back in Africa, going stark raving mad, or we would be dead.
Say that.
Yet you could arrange to have me come here to Detroit and spend this time with you. This is a miracle. A miracle in the most scientific way. Because I don't want to get into that hocus pocus stuff. Because I'm not into that. I'm into soul science. And it's important that we understand this. We are a great people. And the more I study our history, the more in love I fall with ourselves. Because of what we've been through. Yet despite and in spite of that, still we rise, Dr. Angela said.
Still we rise.
Still we rise. It's a powerful thing. And while it has been a rather hurtful experience for us over the past 400 years, I honestly believe that there was a divine reason why this happened. There's a reason why people were stolen. Forget about Africa. Let's not do it African. Let's do it as a human family. There's a reason why a select group of human beings were stolen from their country.